You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan and Kaan.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Hello, Black Eagles! Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. We are back with a new episode, that will probably go in the history books as one of the least listened to episodes, I suspect.
No, but they'll be missing out. We have so much to discuss.
Oh yeah, well, have you been able to revisit the games, Sinan? Have you been able to bring yourself there? Because I have to be honest, I haven't bothered. I haven't watched the replays.
No, I can't say I watched replays. I cannot. No, actually, you know what I always do, and I make it. I mean, it's almost pathetic in the big picture, right? But I always try to make sure that when they air the game. So with beIN Sports, right? If we play on a weekend, it's usually we get put onto the online service because they put the French league up ahead of ours. Which okay, fair enough, right? Whatever. But so, they always re-air our game on actual TV. Later on in the day. Yeah. So I always make sure to turn it on and leave it on for ratings, and I'm doing air quotes because come on, what is one idiot gonna? But you know what I mean? I don't know.
The data.
Yeah. Someone has to be on the record. There's a demand.
I remember when Shinji Kagawa made his debut for Beşiktaş. That the Sun broke some records because they were broadcasting our game, I think in Japan, and that was the most watched game ever on that channel at the time.
Man, we really should have done more with that connection, man. That was
for sure. I mean, I'm still every transfer window, I'm still floating out some Japanese names, and I'm or even some South Korean names. You know that. After the World Cup, I was really big on that Cho guy, a striker, and he ended up going to Midtjylland.
Yep, and I think he's done quite well
for
too,
$2.5 million or something. Yeah, he's been doing okay. I'm still keeping tabs on him. That's the type of signings I would have liked us, to see us go for. Yeah, obviously we're on a different track now with our transfers. The recent moves of Al-Musrati and Mucci, despite the form of the team right now, I think those are signings that are definitely hope-inspiring, and hopefully, I do hope we look towards the Asian market as well. Although. Then we'll just run into the same issue as we ran into this season with the African players, right? Because the Asian Cup
the Asian Cup next time.
The Asian Cup is played at the same time, essentially. So you're running with similar issues. So I wouldn't say go overboard on that Asian market.
Yeah. Maybe just one or two.
There's a really
Korean guy, a Japanese guy.
I forgot his name. For he plays for Tokyo. He's a really young, talented central midfielder. I mean, obviously, he already had... I forget his name, but he's super talented. But that would be a massive move for us, for example. But I don't see it happening because those kids, those talented Japanese guys and South Korean guys, they plan their careers meticulously. And, this kid is somebody that's had offers from Europe already and decided, no, I'm going to go to FC Tokyo instead and stay there.
Interesting. I mean, probably for the short term, I would imagine.
Yeah, of course. I mean, these guys want to make those big moves to Europe, but I don't think Turkey is high.
That's not the one. Yeah.
Well, maybe for South Korea, it would be a little bit easier for us to make inroads because of the Kim Min-jae connection there with Fenerbahce at least, and he went from Fener to Bayern. So. To Napoli first and then Bayern. But I think that might be a little bit more. But for Japanese, for the big towns in Japan, I think it'll be tough. But you can always try.
Maybe go younger somehow.
Well, I think this.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, if you think about it like this, with the rule next season in place, where you can have kind of 12 foreigners, period, no rules beyond that. Yeah. We're gonna have a few Turkish starters. I would say 3 offhand, maybe more if we kind of stick with this like youth movement. So you could actually theoretically afford to have like a few. Or maybe not a few, like maybe 1 or 2 like projects from abroad, who are coming in off the bench, who would ideally be younger, right, rather than older.
I think projects you can definitely have room for like a Hasic type. I think.
That's what I mean. But, that's exactly what I mean.
But it's still, 12 foreigners. It isn't that much. It does help tremendously if you have some good Turks and you have a couple of guys that will start, like Turks that will start. That gives you more wiggle room to have, for example, we had this argument recently about Svensson, where you can have like a double foreign right back, for example, where one is the backup, one is the starter. That is possible, but it does become more difficult. I think they should have just done what they did with the rule now, but kept it 14. I don't see.
That would have been.
I don't quite understand.
Just
why.
To give us so we could definitely say, that we can have like two projects.
For us, it's not a big deal necessarily because we have a lot of guys on. Well, no, maybe not that many, but we have some guys on expiring deals, and we have a bunch of foreigners that I think we are more than willing.
Will the Batyar exception still apply?
Yes, he will count as a Turk until his contract expires.
Nice. Okay.
But this contract. So if he signs a new deal, it will only. I think his contract is until 2027. So
he got like a 4-year.
So he will count until then. But then beyond that, he will count as a foreigner, which I still think is kind of shitty. But it's not the worst deal, I guess.
So it gives us some wiggle room for the short term, for the next couple of years. Let's talk about this match, because you just mentioned Svensson, and I was like, I want to talk about.
Matches,
but then I was like,
right?
wait, now we're jumping into we're going too far ahead.
We've had 3 losses in a row now. The derby. I mean, we previewed it. This was the last episode we did. We previewed it. I hope I'm coming in clear now. By the way, Sinan, the sound.
Yeah,
is fine.
You sound great. Yeah,
okay,
you sound
good.
great.
So the derby is the last game we previewed. And I think we all kind of knew, okay, look, this is going to be a test for us. Like, we were actually going into that derby, we were looking quite good. We were on positive momentum. And then I think the game itself, obviously it couldn't have started worse. It reminded me of those Fenerbahce derbies like 10 years ago, where a couple of them where we after 2 minutes you're trailing 1-0 already at home, and it's like, what happens, And it kind of gave me some throwback to that. But then,
and what sucks too is that it's literally just a game like that one where going down a goal can be so decisive, right? Because most games, it's like, okay, like we made a mistake, we'll kind of punch them back. But specifically this type of match with a side that has, exactly, sure, yeah, that's true. Even in our last match, right? Like if we'd only been down 1 goal, I feel like we could have confidently said, we'll get back into this match. Whereas like Galatasaray, with everything that they're playing for right now, right? It was like everything was working against us when that goal went in early on, I thought. And sure enough, it was a slog fest, right? That was a terrible match, honestly, to watch for like a neutral.
Yeah, Galatasaray weren't good, we weren't good. I think we we weren't good. I didn't think we were terrible either,
No, we kind of played more with a game plan than Galatasaray.
Al-Musrati was definitely rattled after the own goal. It was very unfortunate it was him as well, I think. It was an unfortunate goal to concede to begin with, but he was definitely rattled for like the first half hour, I think, after that. But he did kind of regain his composure. They were also very heavily pressing him, constantly surrounding him by 3 players. Obviously we were down Getson, so he was essentially alone in midfield, I felt, because Mucci was playing very close to Simi. so he wasn't like in that central area. And then Amartey was just hiding from the ball. And yeah, Amartey for this game was a very poor choice. I do understand it going into the game. I kind of get where he was coming from with that decision, but in hindsight, you can say, okay, that was a bad decision.
You know what sucks about it? Because I think we all expected it. In a way, it was logical. But I thought he even said, he's like, we're going to try to play our brand of football. We're not going to be more defensive, even though it's a side in good form, because like... Right? So I literally thought that meant, like, okay, so we're not going to see Amartey. Wow, okay. I think I even commended him. So
yeah, but then Salih wasn't fit, right? Salih wasn't even in the squad, I think, for the game.
Yeah, he was injured. He always has these freak injuries right when you need him the most.
Well, he's been very unreliable all season with injuries, I think, especially lately.
Yeah.
So again, for me, when we're going to talk about contract extensions, like I don't really.
I don't know if we need to.
Does it have a point extending Salih with his record of being unavailable? I mean, we can. We literally. I mean, I'm gonna hammer on this in a bit, but we have other options there. But then, for example, okay, he doesn't have Salih, he doesn't have Getson. That's a blow, of course. Missing Getson for this game was huge.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't give Demirege minutes again. He didn't give him minutes in any of these games, mind you. He hasn't given him minutes in the last 7 games, I think. So I wonder what's up with that. Like, neither of us are huge Demirege fans, but come on, I'd pick him over Amartey for sure, especially if you have Jetson. If you have Al Musrati or you have Jetson. Like in this last game we just played, we didn't have Al Musrati, but we had Jetson and Mucci. That's a good game to put Demirege in, I think. And then against
you want to plug this kid too? While we're on the subject?
In a bit, I will go on a little bit of a rant.
Okay.
But, yeah, for sure. I think Demirege is somebody that we should have seen, but we haven't seen any of. I don't understand what's up with that. And then again, of course, the insistence on Onur. Of course, in the Galatasaray derby, Svensson had taken ill, so he wasn't available for this game.
Yeah, that wasn't. You couldn't hold that against.
But then the next game, he starts Onur again, where Svensson was in the squad. Svensson did play this last game now.
Shall we move on to the next game? I mean, what else is there to say about the derby?
Before we move from this derby, I do want to say, at the time when the position with Cenk, the penalty position, the penalty shout, I was kind of I don't know, is it a penalty or not? But then, if you take a step back and you look at the penalties that both of these guys have been, both Galatasaray and Fenerbahce are getting week in, week out. And then you see the penalty we just got against us yesterday.
I was about
how is that Cenk position not called then? Oh, and then of course there's a red card for Omar Colley that we still have to talk about as well. Like, what was that?
Well, also, I just want to say before we even move on, that was ridiculous.
These VAR interjections in our games,
I know. Where do they What's the point of VAR? I mean, it really just feels like it's to screw with us at this point, because
I'm a huge proponent of VAR, but the way it's being utilized in Turkey, it's like for Galatasaray and for Fenerbahce, they are literally using it to be able to take the magnifying glass 300 times zoom to look for penalties to give them if they're not winning games or whatever. They had that Tite penalty a couple of weeks ago that was absolutely ridiculous. You couldn't even see the contact without a ridiculous zoom. Then there was the Fenerbahce against Kasım Pasha handball, which was shady. No, it wasn't shady. It was a handball. So yeah, okay. But
just one thing. Sorry, I want to say this before I forget, because we were just talking about the Cenk card or Cenk non-call rather. And it's funny because this last week, the common refrain was it was obviously a penalty. It was stupid for Jetson to do what he did. We'll get into what that is. But you're gonna get called for that every time. If you're pulling on a jersey in the penalty box, and it's like. Are you? Because literally against Cenk, it did not happen in a derby.
I did not think that it was the Cenk position is a penalty because he has control over the ball.
I know, it's actually like part of the play.
If they don't pull him down, he's true on goal. So that is definitely a penalty. The one yesterday against Antalya, the player isn't like going toward the ball or anything. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
The one from Cenk against Galatasaray was so much more a penalty than this was. And I don't think yesterday's was a penalty because every set piece, every corner, every free kick we see, there's people hanging on each other, they're hugging, they're pulling each other, whatever. They're pulling jerseys, they're pulling sleeves, they're pulling arms, they're putting arms around.
How many
people.
times have I said, "Oh, if that guy hadn't oversold the foul, it might have actually been called." That dude, number 3 for them, who got like he fell like he'd been shot. Whereas, like you said, people yank on jerseys all the time. He was probably yanking on Jedstone's jerseys like 3 seconds prior. Like, that makes me so angry.
If those are penalties, that is fine. If that's going to be the norm, then that's fine. But then, legitimately, I tweeted this yesterday. Then you have to look at this season as a whole, not just our games, not just Galatasaray and Fenerbahce games, like every single game. Then in this season, up until now, there's probably 100 penalties, and I don't even think I'm exaggerating, because every game has X amount of corner kicks, and every single corner, every single set piece, there's pulling. Every single time. So every time you have to give a penalty then, right?
Exactly.
And that doesn't happen. I have never seen a penalty given for something like that. I think like it wasn't even like he was pulling it. Yeah, he had the jersey, but like he wasn't like dragging him down and using his body weight to drag him down or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like I think pulling jerseys is dumb. But it's become the norm the last 20 odd years in football.
I know. It's not even a new thing anymore, though. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. They tried cracking down on it like at some point in the early to mid 2000s, and it just didn't work. And they just, FIFA. FIFA UEFA tried to crack down on it, and it just like it just had to be accepted. It's part of the norm, and as long as it's not too egregious, it gets tolerated. And yesterday that wasn't an egregious pull. It was just it looked like okay, the fabric is stretching properly, but it had no real impact on anything. I really tell it was an absolute bullshit call.
It was off the ball jostling, and like the cross that was sort of like part of that play came in just 2 seconds later, and it was, I would say, 10 feet up above the guy in question. So I really, it was clearly it was meant to go back post, like not to that guy. There was nothing involved in the play.
Also, that red card that Cody got against Galatasaray, for example,
let's go back to Galatasaray.
That red card,
this starts with Cenk,
it's the same stuff. Yeah, no, but that red card is the same thing. That is something. He wins the ball, and then he does go through a little bit, and there's a little bit of touch. There's a little bit of a contact with studs. Yeah, sure. But there's every game you have players stepping on other people and with worse tackles than that. I think the game before, Torreira had a much worse tackle, didn't get a card, didn't go to VAR. I think he might have gotten a yellow, but whatever. It didn't go to VAR at least. Like that was much more a red, and that he would have missed that derby, for example. And then then they. Obviously, it was very late in the game. It didn't really. All it impacted was our
ability to come back,
to mount an offensive the last 10 minutes.
Exactly.
That's all it really did.
It's pretty big, though.
It is.
It basically just kills the game for Galatasaray. It's like, okay,
yes,
you guys win. Okay,
but
that's
it
enough.
was 10. It was already like the 89th minute or 88th minute or something.
Yeah.
So there was an 8-9 minutes of stoppage time, whatever. It
was the 90th minute, especially for the record. Although we had took, I think 12 minutes of extra time.
I don't remember, but it definitely took it took the pressure off of them at a time for sure, and it made it a lot harder for us. But it's not like that was a red card given in the 30th minute that decides the entire game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I guess why it aggravated me was that when you factor in that he got the ball first, right?
Yeah.
First of all, second of all, that there was clearly, as far as intention goes, like he was just trying to get the ball.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, fine. It was a bit rough, the end result. Maybe you give me yellow, but
He gave him a yellow, and then VAR came in and turned.
exactly.
It was
exactly.
VAR again, and I think what we're seeing.
But I feel like the yellow is a stretch. Like when I say maybe you get a yellow, it's a hard foul.
I
Okay,
think
fine,
yellow is a correct call there. I don't think it's a red. And the thing is, which I find this basically been like kind of our season is. VAR very rarely works in our favor. It's always
why is it even called in there? Like who?
That's my point. I don't mind VAR going for clear, obvious calls, but like the penalty,
after a goal,
but the penalty yesterday, and then that red card against Galatasaray, like those are moments where you're like, okay. And then you have, for example, you remember against Adana-Demirspor where Rasicka gets pulled down and where they step on Rebic's ankle. That game ends 0-0. Those are both by the standards set by VAR themselves in our games against us. By those standards, those are both stonewall penalties, and they don't go to VAR for that. And I've pushed away so many of those other moments already this season. Those just stand out because I actually made short clips of them to. Liken them to some of the things that happened recently, but a couple of years ago, you remember the 3-3 game against Adana-Demirspor, they had VAR there as well. Mario Balotelli literally scores with his arm. And Balotelli scores with his arm, and the guy, our defender on the line, who would be able to clear it, gets pushed down by one of Adana Demirspor's players.
Sombalonga or something like that.
So both those positions should have gone to VAR. Like in the same play, there's two moments in the same play that 100% justify disallowing the goal, and that VAR stays silent. And that is the most egregious one I can think of over the last couple of years. But and then you see them looking for reasons to give penalties to Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, and then that's
what's so aggravating.
And then we had the game against Antep where I kind of feel like it was 2-0, and then they give a super ridiculous soft penalty to us, where I kind of feel like this is just for the statistics. This is just so they can say they give us penalties too.
Do you notice that whenever someone scores against one of our rivals, it's like there's always like a 4 or 5 minute VAR process afterwards?
That depends
where it's
on the position.
It's like everything has to be so perfect for someone to score against their rivals, right? Like they're finding things. With microscopes, oh my god, the blade of grass over there was the lime was painted too far in. They come up with such crazy stuff to call off goals against their rivals. It's getting to the point of absurdity. And like you said, we can't even get them to look at sometimes quite blatant fouls. I don't know. I don't understand the system. I hate it. There needs to be more transparency. We need to get in. We need audio in the booth.
They have
to know what they're doing.
They've been. After a meeting with our board a couple of weeks ago, they have agreed to release the VAR conversations now every Tuesday on YouTube. So they're doing that, but they're only releasing the chatter between the ref and the VAR for actual interventions. So
come on, that's not helpful.
So they're not releasing it for positions where you take, for example, the Jink position against Galatasaray, that didn't get released because that didn't go to VAR. So the chatter is not released.
That's the whole point. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
That's so annoying.
Exactly. Because if you look at Galatasaray and Fenerbahce's penalties they have been getting, every single one of them, it's okay, they can give it because there was something. Because there was a handball, because there was the most minute contact, but they're not fantasizing something, you know what I mean? Like what they used to do back in the day before VAR, so they actually still have to find the contact, they still have to find the handball, they still have to do this, they have to still do that. for me, the biggest problem is that the standard for contact, the standard for
Inconsistent,
anything is super. Like the standard is for them, for those two, they get a penalty for anything basically.
Yeah.
And then we, and I'm sure other teams too, don't. I mean, obviously, Antalya got a really nice, cheeky penalty yesterday, but yeah, I mean, look, I think the penalty we got against Antep last week wasn't a penalty, for example, but that didn't go to VAR. That was just a decision made by the referee on the spot.
Yeah.
And VAR is only supposed to intervene if the referee made a clear error. And if a referee says, well, there's contact, I think that's a penalty, and VAR can't see that there is no contact, then they cannot do anything. Do you understand what I mean? So unless it's like really clear that there wasn't any contact or whatever, then VAR will come in. Hey, you have to come and look. There was no contact. But if there was contact, then it's onto the discretion of the referee. It's just the standards of these VAR interjections it doesn't make any sense for me. It's all over the place. Like I said, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce both get the most. They get the softest calls. I'll put it that way. They just get really soft calls, which I'm not saying they're wrong. They're just soft, and then. In our games, there are often moments where it seems quite obvious that something... Like, again, the Rasicka penalty against Adana Demirspor, it was very clear. And maybe a couple of years ago, you would have said, nah, it's not enough for a penalty. But in the VAR era, especially in the VAR era with the penalties that our rivals get, that is always a penalty. And, yeah...
I mean... I wonder, so like, what is... I'm so curious about... You mentioned the VAR, like how they do the Tuesday report or whatever thing. So, like, did you just watch the Galatasaray match today against Kasımpaşa?
I watched the last 10, 15 minutes or something like that, yeah. Like,
did you see the like red card that led to the penalty?
I saw it, yeah.
Zaha had a handball.
Oh,
like,
did he? Oh.
Before the foul. So I don't understand, like, are we gonna hear them address how they, like, slow-mo that, show it, and then just don't call that? Like, can they just, like, mute out that part of the conversation and just focus on the part, you know what I mean?
They can, and of course, they can do whatever they want with editing, right?
So they'll just show the clip where they're talking not about that. Like, okay, let's just pretend we didn't see that.
I mean, I don't know. You'll have to watch the YouTube.
I can't. Probably, like, part of it that I like not speaking Turkish. It's a lot to ask someone to translate something like that, but I am quite curious. Like, I really want to know how they do that.
I mean, for me, it's kind of like these losses don't necessarily bother me all that much. It's more, because I'm like, it hasn't really, like, impacted my mood all that much at all. Some of our friends are super depressed, super down, and for me, it's like, I'll do some other stuff. I had a lot of fun the last couple of days with my kid playing Fallout, for example. Right. This is just things I'll do. But the things that bother me most, like yesterday, the loss against Antalyaspor, doesn't really bother me. Actually, on the contrary, I'm low-key happy about it, because...
We look pretty good.
We look pretty good, but also I am really starting to... I mean, obviously I was never a big fan of the appointment of Santos, but I was 100% willing to give him a chance. But I think it's becoming more and more clear that Santos is not the answer, and I think this loss is going to... I don't want us to go into next season with Santos at the helm. Unless there is a very clear turnaround where we start playing good football and all that kind of stuff. Like,
and we win the cup.
Winning the cup is the bare minimum, and then obviously there needs to be signs of improvement towards next season. And to be fair, we were seeing some positives with the addition of Mucci and Al Musrati, and going into the derby, we're seeing some positives. but we also saw with the derby, but also the derby necessarily. I don't mind that, but the Antep game for me
was our worst game of the season.
Yeah, that was for me. That was like, okay, this is. Yeah. We need an overhaul of the squad. We know that, but I'm sorry, Mr. Santos, if you are still insisting on starting Honor Blood each game, I cannot support you anymore. Like,
he's such a detriment. No,
it's and then even like yesterday, I think one of the big reasons that we lose, but we played one of our better games. To be fair, we created a good amount of chances. And Svensson was pretty involved in it. He had
Svensson and Worrell both were
was good
very
too.
solid.
And Svensson had that one position again where Cenk is late, but any other striker will probably put that away.
Dude, I was saying yesterday, the problem there is that there was a time where Cenk was fast enough that he could make a slow decision like that, but make up for it by getting there anyway. And that's clearly come and gone those days.
No, that even last season, Cenk would have scored that goal any day, and that is not the first time this season that we have had an almost identical position. He had the same position against Galatasaray on a cross from Rashica, exact same position where he is just a toe off. He is just one step slow, and Cenk last season before his injury puts that away. Cenk this season doesn't.
So far,
and then I am not
keep waiting for it.
I'm not hating on Cenk, by the way, because I think the hatred that Cenk gets online it turns my stomach, because he has done so much for the club. He has won 3 titles with the club. He has gotten us the biggest transfer fee in our history. He has come back for the 3rd time. He has signed a really low wage contract as well. On top of that, he has made a lot of sacrifices. He has done a lot for the club. He is not good this season, but 5 goals, 6 assists. That is not horrendous. He still has his moments. Remember in the cup against Antalya, where he suddenly just with a magical ball manages to put Muleka alone in front of the goalkeeper, and we scored was the equalizer or the winner? I think it was a winner. So it's like he still has his moments. I understand why people aren't fond of him right now, because he's just not good enough anymore to be a starter for us at the moment. That is just the way it is. It is a sad truth. It was the same way with Quaresma all those years ago. Remember where we suddenly started seeing, okay, Quaresma is starting to get past it. And it is very painful to see one of your favorite players of the last decade or so getting to a point where either through injury or just through the
sands of time.
The sands of time, exactly.
That's
just the way it is, and it'll happen to every player eventually. But I don't think that warrants the hatred that Cenk gets. People calling him Chup, for example, which is so disrespectful.
I mean, the fans, that's been a very persistent theme for, I would say, a couple seasons now, if not a few. Like booing, like it's been called out now in a number of forms by a number of people. Like our coach, like in his first couple of weeks, had to spend time doing that. Like that's supposed to be like your honeymoon phase, and you literally have to chastise the fans for being children. For sure. Like there's a lot of it.
I'm all on his side on that regard. Like every time Aboubakar comes on the pitch, they boo. And like yesterday,
they still boo Jackson Muleka, and he hasn't had a bad game in months.
They booed Cenk coming off, and then they booed Aboubakar going on. But they booed Cenk harder than they booed Aboubakar. But I think, what are you doing? Like you're not like this is not like.
They booed Aboubakar coming on in the derby when we needed him to score the goal to equalize.
Exactly, and it's like what do you think that's gonna do to him? That's just gonna like, especially like someone like Aboubakar. I think it's just gonna say,
you can see this. It's actually like, I think we've all had our problems with Aboubakar, right? But like you see that his face, you see how he responds.
Yeah.
All right, like it's actually sad.
Yeah, but it takes like I think that just completely drains any motivation a player has to contribute.
Of course.
You know, it doesn't matter how much money you pay a guy. If you're gonna boo him, he's gonna be all like a "fuck you."
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah,
okay.
like,
I don't know.
I'm gonna make you guys happy.
Look, I understand them booing him once to send the message.
Let him know,
but
yeah.
don't do it every time.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
And don't do it when you need him to save you.
And what are you gonna do when he scores a goal? Are you then suddenly going to start cheering? Like, it's so stupid. And
then if he does the shush thing, then you're gonna have you'll be excoriated. Imagine.
Then it's like, how dare he? How dare he?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, it's like you're screwed if you do, and you're screwed if you don't.
I am not 100% against booing players. I think there are situations where it is warranted.
No,
but those are very
for
rare.
me, like if the team sucks, boo the whole team, right? But like if let's say like you're playing a team you should win and they score their like third goal against you, let the boos rain down on the whole damn thing, you know, like take them off the field with boos, every single one.
Depending, but not in a season like this season where we are already in such a mess. We are having what is one of the worst seasons in our history, where it's also just clear that there is just, whether it be a big quality problem or it's just a big mental issue. Like, it's week in, week out. We've been bad for months. The entire season we have been terrible. There have been a couple of sparks here and there with the new guys, with Simi. There have been moments where we played okay, but like we've played how many games this season? 35 games or something like that. And out of those 35 games, you can probably count on one hand where we played okay. And then the remaining 30 or so games, we were subpar or bad. So in a season like that, what point is there to booing? What point is there left to booing, right? Like, you're not sending anyone a message. You just have to accept we're bad. We're not gonna be doing much. That is also why I am not in a deep state of depression right now after these, back to back losses. It's just because, like, I've accepted it. And for a while I was like, okay, Musrati and Mucci are looking like really good players, and
time out.
The right
Actually,
way,
stop. Before we go even all the way with this thought, because I want to say something. Mm-hmm. And this is actually like could be a good chance for us to like salvage the mood of this episode real quick, because this is important. One theme about all three of those losses is look at the midfielders that we put out for each one of them, and I'll go through them with you all for those who need a refresher. So first of all, against Galatasaray, the three dudes in the middle are, as we mentioned earlier, Mucci and Musrati, great, but also Amarte. Huge piece missing, right? Jedson does all the dirty work so that those two can shine in the ways that we hope they will, in which they have, at times so far already. Let's look at Gaziantep, who was in our midfield for that match. In that case, it was, again, Al-Musrati. This time, Jedson's back, but we've got Zainuddinov in the number 10 role, with Mucci sent out to the left wing. Okay, fine. And then, of course, let's look at Antalyaspor yesterday, which is probably the game we should spend the most time talking about. It's the freshest. Yeah. It's the one that's going to carry us through the break. And in our midfield for that match, we have Mucci, Jedson, great, and Amarte, because, of course, we all know what's up with Al-Musrati. Yeah. So, my point, and I think it's probably pretty clear at this point, not in one of those games did we see that midfield that we had cause for optimism for. And the reason that's also important is because this is crazy. I had said in the group, and I was like exaggerating. I was like, "Come on, we can't get this dire and negative. We've only seen that midfield trio once." And people were like, "No, we've seen it a bunch more than that. We've seen it." And so people actually like dug in trying to find it. We've seen it twice. That's it. Yeah, both of those games were 2-0 victories, 2 clean sheets, which these days is even like that was the one positive for a while with Fernando Santos, right?
Yeah.
But so
But I even said
that's
that
all there is
last
to say.
episode, right? Like that's kind of like it's I already had a hunch that was gonna be something that was gonna get exposed because we were playing pretty weak opposition week after week,
And you're
we
relying
hadn't
on like
gotten tested
Necip
yet.
being in the form of his life.
Yeah, and then Necip, of course, against Antep, his lights went out because he, I think, on both goals he
He was the worst player on the side, perhaps that match. I mean, there was a few.
I don't know if I dare say that, but he had a. I mean, obviously, Al Musrati, the first goal, that was his poor pass that got intercepted, and then I think
Onur
it was Necip stepping up.
Onur was probably the worst player.
Onur is always the worst, isn't it?
yeah.
I hope Onur does not listen to our podcast.
I doubt it.
Because I feel bad for the guy. I really do. He is. I mean, I have begrudgingly grown some respect for him. I think because the amount of shit he gets over him every week, and they're not booing him anymore, at least, but still, like, you can see the way, like, his body language is just, like, you can tell he is so unhappy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season he says, hey, I'll leave all my money on the table and I'll leave and I'll go play somewhere else.
He does like Kenan Karaman, right?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if he pulls a Kenan Karaman at the end of the season, because he genuinely looks so unhappy. And, I mean, he looks like a guy, if you tell me, something horrible happened, Onur Bulut committed suicide yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And I hope to God that doesn't happen, obviously, but like the way he's looking, like, just, I think he is completely, his mind is completely messed up right now, at least when it comes to football. I hope to God that he is somebody who can put that on the side when he's not playing football. I hope to God, because I mean, he doesn't deserve to feel like that. He has done nothing wrong as a human being. Right. He is just not good enough. And I think if he would be high on confidence, he would be serviceable as a backup. But the way his mind is completely messed up right now because of the way he's been treated and also the pressure he just cannot cope under, I think that he can go back to being a decent player for an Anadolu team, but he needs to leave. I think for his own mental well-being, at the end of the season, he needs to make that decision for himself and say, I want to go, I want to leave, please let me go. There were clubs coming in for him in January. Mm-hmm. I think they should have let him go. Honestly, the best thing they could have done is let him go, sell him, get 500k or something for him, because that was the money that was being talked about. Sell him and get a kid, Turgut Arda, from the youth or something. Play him on right back whenever Svensson isn't fit. Play somebody from the youth. We had Emre Can Terzi play yesterday. He had a fine game, I thought. And that's the left back, obviously, but he had a fine.
Are we talking about yesterday now?
Yeah, yesterday, yeah. Emre Can was fine yesterday, right? Like, and yesterday, the fans.
Let's talk about yesterday. Let's do that.
Yeah, sure.
Who was bad yesterday? I guess Amarte. Amarte was terrible.
Amarte wasn't very good. I wouldn't say he was terrible, but
maybe terrible's hard.
He's just miscast in that role. I think if you play, like I've said this before, right? I think for an Anadolu team, if you can play him as a defensive six, and you play that type of football that Anadolu teams play, most Anadolu teams play, I should say, not every Anadolu team, obviously a team like Rizespor play offensive football, but like the stereotypical Anadolu team play, I think someone like Amarte is a fine player, but for a team like us, the type of football we should be playing, he's not good enough for that, obviously. But yesterday, who was not good? I think they were all I can't name a player. Mucci maybe. despite scoring, I think in the first
But
half
he was better in the second half. Yeah, but the first half he was.
I thought he was better in the first half, and
was it the other way around?
I thought that in the second half obviously he scored the goal, and then he got into a really good goal scoring position that Leite made a good save on. But other than that, I thought he was very uninvolved. We attacked a lot in the second half. We created a lot of chances. But I felt like Mucci was very rarely involved in the build-up.
Is it a hot take to say that Mert Günok could have done better on their goal? Obviously not the penalty, I mean, but although the penalty too, honestly.
The penalty he should have saved, I think.
He should have saved, actually. Yeah, it went right under him.
Yeah, it did. The goal, I honestly can't recall.
It was cut across, and it was like, ooh, like it was one of those goals where it was so well worked that it was hard to really pick out who was to blame. Yeah. And those ones kind of, honestly,
those are
usually come down to like slow react. I think maybe Mert reacted a little slow, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being hard.
Perhaps he could have done more. I don't know, but I don't like blaming goalkeepers unless
me neither.
Unless they are blatantly at fault. And I think the way they cut through us, it reminded me a lot of earlier in the season when it felt like every team was cutting through us like a hot knife through butter. And it was disappointing to see us being that vulnerable. But it was a good attack, to be fair, from Antalyaspor.
Maybe Kali was a little passive. Like he does that sometimes. Where
I
he
felt like
attack
both.
The ball.
I felt like the center could have. The center of the defense. I don't remember exactly whether it was Worrell or Kali or.
It was Kali's side, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but it was somebody cutting in from the left, and then the ball got played to the right. So I don't know. I don't want to really point fingers necessarily. I think it was just a really good attack from Antalyaspor. And that happens. You're gonna concede those goals. I think we reacted well enough. Whereas I think against Antep we looked very defeated,
flat,
mentally deflated after the derby. In this game against Antalya, we go a goal down, and I think we recovered well. And then we even went down a second goal after that penalty we have already discussed at length. And we still came out of the dressing room, scored really quickly after 14 seconds.
We were unlucky to let in the second goal. I mean, not the goal was whatever, it was a penalty, whatever. Yeah. But I just mean that, like, I feel like we looked by far the more likely side to score by the time they actually scored.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that yesterday the team they never deserved to lose that game. I didn't think they deserved to lose the derby either. The Antep game obviously was a deserved defeat. I think the derby is a game that you just. I think that game normally would end in a draw, but given the season we are having, given the season they are having, it ends the way it ends. Reminds me a little bit of that derby we won in their stadium with the deflected free kick. Remember that one?
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of.
It was like a champions win champions derby win. Dirty and undeserved.
Well, the season before that, we had the Gomez goal on the Cenk assist, which that felt like a proper championship win. That reminded me of the 2002 derby where Ibrahim Zulmes scored. If you remember that one.
Vaguely.
But that reminded me of that one. That was a strong away derby performance. But then I think the season after with the Talisca deflected free kick, that was kind of the luck of the champion. And I kind of feel like they had that same luck against us in that match, because I don't think there was much separating those two teams in that game, honestly. Then the Antep game, like we said, that was just a very poor performance. But then yesterday, the Antalya game, I mean, I think that was one of our best games under Santos, honestly. I didn't count the amount of chances we created, but we created plenty. Their goalkeeper had to make a couple of really good saves. Veysel Sarı had to make a lot of clinical interventions.
I can tell you that we had 8 shots on target, 19 shots in total. So yeah,
how many did they have?
Very active. They had 11 shots, only 2 on target.
Yeah.
And our XG was 2.25. Theirs was 1.53.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. It does really. I mean, I'm not always the biggest proponent of those XG stats because I think it enables you to cover up poor performances.
But that one's about right. And the reason I actually feel better about it too is because our goal XG was low earlier, so I think they actually did a correction because there was, remember, like the missed penalty.
I mean, we scored
whatever
penalty,
you call that.
That was
not miss.
I think
that
penalty. I mean, let's talk about that penalty. So
first of all, actually, speaking of, so we talked about how like I think you were saying that the collie card is something you never see, and with the one from Galatasaray, and I thought, we've had a couple things you never see moments recently, and I was thinking of this penalty. This penalty, like what?
That penalty just tells you everything you need to know about our season, right?
Seriously, like what? And then like, dude, so B in USA shut the game down. They I was so happy they like made it to the penalty. So they show the penalty and then the feed goes away.
Oh, so you thought, okay, match ended 2-2.
Dude, I celebrated. My wife was like waiting to leave. I was like, wait, you might want to see this. So we like watched us score. We celebrated like as a family. Like I left the game shut down. I thought, okay,
and
whatever.
And then you came
fine.
on WhatsApp and you were like,
dude, I was like, whatever, it's fine. I said goodbye to my wife, good kiss, we're all in a good mood. Come on, man, what the hell?
And then she came back later and there was a sour grape in the couch.
Not even! She texted me a few moments later and like with some innocent question, like, hey, could you ask our daughter like with this or that? And I didn't reply at first. And then she was like, hey, did you get my message? And I was like, they didn't count the goal. She got it. She was like, okay,
I rarely get angry anymore. Over. I mean, I would still, if this was an important. I haven't gotten angry in a while. I'll put it that way. Like, legitimately, like raging and stuff. Like, I was raging yesterday, man. Like, I couldn't believe that. Like, if it like, and also like, I mean, everyone's like, oh, it clearly hits his foot. I was looking at that replay. I'm like, oh, dude, come on.
I know. How did they even find that? Exactly. And they knew it like immediately somehow. I was like, what? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Looked like a totally normal penalty, honestly.
And it also just because we had those. You remember like that one chance I was talking about. So Mucci first, later saves, then.
I know.
Then
so
Abubakar.
Yeah,
then Abubakar gets cleared like in front of the line, and then Muleka. So like three, like 100% chances in one, and we don't score. But that is kind of
each one of them requires the like career highlight for the whoever it is that stops that goal from going in. Each one, and like
I mean, to be fair, I've liked this goalkeeper for the entire season. I've been impressed with him, honestly. Like the Antalya goalkeeper, he's really good. Helton later.
Helton,
But yeah, I mean, this was just one of those games where I can take the loss because I'm not angry at the team at all. I thought they put it all out there. I thought they did their best. I did kind of quit. I mean, as soon as we got the penalty and Razzerian took the ball, I was like, what? Why is Razzerian taking it? And normally you would expect Abubakar to take it, but I he came on, got booed, so maybe he was like, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, I was okay with it. I was okay with everything. And I don't understand.
I think Simi should be taking him. Like this
maybe
is
so. Yeah,
actually,
that was
missed,
my first thought.
This was our 6th penalty this season, and we have missed 4. We have missed 4 out of 6 penalties. Gezal scored 1 and Abubakar scored 1. I think Cenk has missed 3 now.
Dude, that's comical on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's like comical that we only have 6.
No, wait,
you know what I mean?
I think Ox.
And then it's also like
well, I think six penalties is not necessarily comical. Usually, I mean, did you see the graph I made a couple of, not the graph, the Excel sheet?
The spreadsheet.
Normally, you get around, in a 34-game season, you'll get around 5-6 penalties. But then,
really?
Obviously the last couple of seasons, there's been more games, so it's closer to the 10 mark.
Yeah, I would have guessed. I would have thought 6 was low.
But 6, okay, I think 6 in a 34-game season is not abnormally low. But obviously, when Fenerbahce have 18 and Galatasaray have 14 or something now. It's
crazy. It's just I don't know. Yesterday, but it also hurt, especially that like the goal we got back wasn't an equalizer because of that bullshit penalty on Jedson. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many layers to why yesterday was like kind of depressing, but also like you said, like why like we can't even care that much anymore because it's so regular at this point.
Yeah, but that penalty I think was just so typical for our season. Like we were talking about this. Remember on the podcast even we were talking about this a couple of years ago, where Murphy's Law. We were talking about that a couple of years ago, where when everything goes that can go wrong will go wrong, and that was just yesterday. I think that was just Murphy's Law again.
Yeah, I mean, and it's this whole season, really, right? Like the football gods.
It is.
The football gods are having a laugh at
They
Beşiktaş.
They definitely are. And all we can hope for is that we build a proper foundation skeleton for next season, and that we make the right moves. We get rid of a lot of this dead weight. We have so many players we need to get rid of. Like
I have a different perspective slightly, and maybe it's not necessarily different. You might actually agree. I feel like we're in a way sort of well positioned for next season because we have a lot of pieces that are young, that are like trending the right direction. I feel like what we lack is obvious. Like we clearly lack a striker, for example, right? We clearly lack something to create. I'm guessing it would be off the wing. I think Mucci, Musrati, and Jedson are fine in the midfield. You know, right? We certainly need a winger, right? We need someone. We can't be going with like Cenk at left wing, right? Even at his best, like Cenk is a striker. Like you could swing him there, but like you're probably better off with someone who can create.
Sinan, do you want to play a game?
Yeah. Sure.
So you know the marry, fuck, kill game, right?
Yeah, sure.
So let's play that game. Let's play the keep, bench, sell game. Huh?
Okay.
So I'll go over our squad and you're gonna say keep, bench, or sell. Okay? Ersin Destanoglu.
Oof. Do we don't have a loan option in the? Can we loan?
Yeah, let's make it keep, bench, loan, sell.
Okay, loan.
Okay.
I'm loaning Ersin.
Okay, Mert Günok.
Like ideally, like I'm loaning Ersin to the Netherlands. Ideally,
Okay.
Mert Günok, sell.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry. That's probably a hot take, honestly.
Göktuğ Baytekin. That's kind of.
Too deep of a cut.
Yeah, he's 19 years old. I think we have better young goalkeepers. We have Emir Yaşar in the under 19s.
That's the one, yeah. That's
and
the
we
one.
still have Emre Bilgin as well, who's doing great at Fatih Karagümrük. So I think. Göktuğ Baytekin. What do you think then? With what I just said.
You said he's 18
He's
or
19. He's 19.
That's like a loan or sell.
Yeah.
I would have to say.
Utku Yuvakaran, contract
Sell.
expiring, so...
Let him go.
Yeah, let him go, exactly.
Kill.
Yeah. Joe Worrell.
Ooh. Keep. I'm keeping him.
You'd buy him? His clause, I think, is $4.5 million.
4 mil. Yeah, I'd say so.
4,
I feel like
4.5,
he could be the answer at right center back.
Okay. Daniel Amarte.
Oof. Sell.
Yeah.
If you can.
Omar Kwali.
If we could get money for him, I'd actually sell him and start Bakhtiar.
Yeah, he's 30. He's going on 32.
Exactly.
He'll
That's
be 32
exactly
in
why.
October. Yeah, I love Omar Kwali, but I think we need one really good defender next to either him or Worrell. So I think it's either him or Worrell, right? And Worrell is the younger one, but obviously Kwali is
Exactly.
player.
I would start with like Worrell and Bakhtiar. Which is also maybe a hot take, but
Tayyip Talas Sonuç.
I'd keep him.
Yeah. Emrecan Uzunhan.
You know, I know a lot of people want to throw him under the bus because of how stupid the deal was that we brought him in on, but I want to see more. I would either loan or keep.
Yeah, I'd loan him.
Yeah.
Necip Uysal.
I mean, he's a keeper. I don't think.
Bench, right? Or keep? Keep or bench?
Bench.
Yeah,
I
so
bench.
it's either start him or bench him. We can keep.
Bench.
We can.
I'm starting Worrell. I'm benching Neji.
Yeah.
On the right side.
I2 Komech.
Loan.
That's another young. Yeah, I agree. I would loan him as well. Bakhtiar Zainutdinov.
I'm keeping him, and I'm starting him at left central back.
You're okay. I'd bench him, but I'd keep him as well. Yeah.
I like
Bakhtiar too, but maybe in a good team. But not in
that's
this
it.
team,
I
for
feel
sure.
like he could be like the Dusko Tosic, you know what I mean? Or you know what I'm saying? Like
So you'd start
the
him,
11th player on
you'd
a good
start
team.
him left central defender.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Artur Masuaku.
I'm keeping him. I mean, look, if we get some sort of crazy offer, like if West Ham or something like needs him back, okay, like I'll sell him for like 5 mil. But beyond that, for less than that, I'd probably I don't think we're gonna make enough of an improvement on that position.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Emre Can needs to stay.
I think you can
off the
improve the
bench.
position, but you'd have to spend a lot of money to get someone
Yeah, and we don't
who's clearly
exactly.
better. Yeah, I agree. I would keep Masuaku and start him. Umut Merash. I don't know if his contract is expiring. I think it might be. I'm just gonna.
I would let it expire or sell.
Yeah, I fully agree. Emrecan, Serkan Emrecan Terzi is
I'm keeping.
equally
I'm
good
benching.
and our own player and
Yeah, I'm benching him.
yeah. Emrecan Terzi, you're benching him?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's my backup. I want him getting legit minutes.
That's fair.
but-
That's fair. So Umut Merash letting go. That I agree with. Emrecan Terzi backup. Agree. Onur Bulut.
I'm selling him. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a part of me that would almost in his best, we could use him as a backup right back, but it's not happening anymore.
No, it's. I think his career. I think there is a 0.1% chance he still has a career at Beşiktaş.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. He's got to go. Too toxic.
Jonas Svensson.
I'm keeping him. Starting him.
I like Svensson too. I'd start him, but
If we can if they have a good option at right back who's like a very obvious improvement and who's like not excessively expensive, okay. But look, the reality is we need a striker and we need a winger ASAP, right?
Yeah.
And potentially a central defender. Like if Bakhtiar Zainutdinov is too much of a risk as a starter at left central defender, then we're back on the market for a central defender too.
Yeah.
So. With all of that said, I think I'm starting Svensson.
Yeah, okay. I like Svensson. I don't know if I want him to be your starting right back, but I also don't want us spending a lot of money on that position right now because, like you, I think we have to invest in more urgent positions, and I rather have us do what we did with Al Musrati and with Mucci, pay a lot more, but buy quality and at a good age, then once again going into the bargain bin and hope for an older, So the next guy, Al Musrati.
100% start. Key.
Yeah. Amir Hadjametovic.
Ooh. Bench. Bench?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be tough selling him because of the injury.
And you almost shouldn't sell him at his low point now, right? Like he could probably have a good season.
If he would not have gotten injured, I think we would have been far better off now because we would have had Amir available. And I think, for example, against Galatasaray, if we would have had Amir,
that would have been
that
so
would have
good.
made a big difference. But I think Amir is a player that you can sell for a decent amount. He's 27 years old. If he comes back and he does okay from his injury, I think you can sell him in January. Because I mean, there were teams gonna come in for him in January. That was a rumor, but then he got that ridiculous injury, obviously. And
yeah, exactly.
So I'd keep him at least until he's back on his feet, and then try and move him on.
Yeah, exactly.
Berkay Vardar.
How old is he?
Berkay is 21 already.
Oh, sell him. We're done.
Yeah,
We're done here.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
I agree, it's not happening. Gökhan Inler.
Make him your
His contract is up, so-
TD or whatever it is. Make him your
Did
technical
you-
director. What was it?
That's not happening though. Did you see what Hasnarat said about him?
No, what happened?
So apparently Gökhan Inler, when he first came to Beşiktaş in 2016, he bought a skybox for his family, friends, whatever. But he left after one season, so he sued the club to get the money back from the skybox.
Oh my god.
So apparently that's why we haven't heard or seen of him ever since.
In a
elections.
while.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we hadn't seen him before that either, but yeah. Jetson
Jeez.
Fernandes.
So sell or
Jetson Fernandes.
Oh, 100% start, keep.
Yeah. I think I'd sell him.
Ooh,
Granted,
that's a hot take.
Granted,
For a good deal, maybe you're saying.
Yeah,
Remember, though,
obviously.
half of it's gone, so it would have to be at
Obviously,
least like 20 mil.
Yes, but I think that if we can sell him for like 15, 16 million, you can get a good player for 7, 8 million. And I think you just... first and foremost, I think you kind of want rid of that 50% bullshit. Jetson is a good player, great ball winner, but I do agree with the critics as well that in the final third, it's just he doesn't have that.
Well, all right. How about put an asterisk in that? Because what if, what we keep saying, like, what if this trio in the midfield really pans out?
Oh
for the
yeah,
rest
I
of the
do
season?
think that Mucci, Al Musrati, Jetson is a very good midfield. So
a great tandem,
I
I
would
think.
not sell him unless we make us a profit. The profit doesn't need to be massive though, but we need to have like a profit more than a break even. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But still, if you can have a little bit of a profit on that 6 million, so like 1-2 million profit, that's pretty big,
But then remember, we talked about how we're going to already need a striker, a winger, and a central defender. That also gives you another big hole. I guess you could be saying then you want to keep Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who might be next on the list.
He is indeed next on the list. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. What do you do with him?
I'd also keep him. If I'm going to have two foreigners on the bench, and I think we probably have more than that, actually, I think those are two candidates that I would consider like as good salvage projects that you could actually make some money on
Sure.
if things go
I
right.
think we
And
got
if not, you
really-
just cut your hand.
Yeah, I think
You
we
just
got
cut things
super
short.
unlucky with him, right? Like if he doesn't pick up that injury, I think
We probably
he's-
would've made money,
I
yeah.
think we would have sold him in the summer to the Premier League again because he was playing well despite the team being shit. He was showing,
And you
good
could see
things.
him actually being a decisive factor now with the
Yeah.
team as it is currently constructed, as far as making it like from a mediocre to like a pretty good, like a well-performing team.
This
So-
is again a perfect example of if we would have had Alex against Galatasaray,
exactly.
Alex
I was gonna say
Musrati
exactly that.
Mucci would have worked. Amir Musrati Mucci would have been fine. Alex is a class player when he's fit. Amir is an okay player. I think
mean, look,
Amir
I'll
is
give
a
you
fine
this. I'll
player
give you
too,
this.
not class necessarily, but yeah.
And if you're keeping Amir and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, then certainly, if you get anything above 15 mil for Jedson, I'd take, because it's true we do actually have, with those guys returning, some depth. Like that's actually somewhere where you could afford to fool around a little bit, right? Okay.
I think the
Okay.
biggest
I think
issue
we're-
with Ox is just the contract he has, right? He's getting paid so much.
Yeah, you almost have
relative
to
to the
play
rest
him,
of the
right?
team.
Yeah.
That's
Or
the
sell
biggest
them,
issue with him.
whatever.
All right, up next, Sali Uchan. We already spoke about him earlier a little bit.
But so to be clear, are you keeping Alex? Oxlade?
I would, depending on if anything comes in. If an
Sure,
offer from
yeah.
the Premier League comes in, even just a couple of mil, I would sell him because
Yeah,
of his
that's fair.
contract, because of
Yeah.
how much he earns. I like Alex. I like Ox a lot. I think he's a good.
So you're
player,
selling then
but I would sell.
Jedson and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I mean, if I could get the money I would want for them, I'd sell Jetson, Amir, and Ox, and I'd just.
Whoa,
Yeah,
you're back
yeah.
on the market, aren't you?
I would.
Big
I would,
shopper.
I think this team needs a complete overhaul. I think so much of I think a lot of even the better players are kind of tainted by this season, and by the just the stank of failure. Salih Uçan.
Out.
Yeah.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Don't even re-sign him.
Yeah, agree. Demir Ege Tiknas.
Go bench
I would
or
loan
loan.
him.
Maybe loan. Yeah, if we have that all that depth in the position, then definitely loan.
Tayfur Bingöl.
Bench. Oh man, but the toxicity. I guess you have to sell him. He's probably in
I
that
don't
category,
know.
right?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's useful, but like,
is,
I don't know if we survive with all the toxicity.
Yeah, he's also 31, going on 32. I mean, I think, I don't know. With the chain, like he was very valuable under the current form limit because of his versatility and all that. Honestly, I would rather this position in the squad being taken up by a youth player, so I'd get rid of him.
Yep.
Not because I don't like Tayfur, by the way. I think people who take the piss out of him, shit on him, and boo him are not doing the team any favors, but whatever.
And frankly, look, if you remove that from the context, like you could probably legitimize keeping around for depth and utility, but because of that, it's like not really tenable. So the fans have peed in that pot.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Ernest
move on.
Mucci.
Oh, 100%. Like, let's build around him.
Yeah.
He's a keeper.
Ante Rebic.
You gotta sell him.
He's got to go, right?
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's another one of those
That's
things.
really unfortunate. He's a really good footballer, but he doesn't.
I don't understand why he's not playing right now.
I mean, he clearly doesn't give it.
He must not want to. Yeah,
he
must
clearly
just
doesn't
not want to.
care.
It's such a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame because he's really good when he wants
Yeah.
to be. Yeah. Milot Rasička.
I'm keeping him. I'm keeping him.
Rashid Ghazal.
The problem is if you say keeping him, it means you're keeping him at 2.5 mil per season, doesn't it? Because that means an extension.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Because like honestly, he's proven he could actually, like if he was willing. Well, but then again, we're talking about depth, and we've already. I personally have already committed to Amir and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the bench, so I have to say sell.
Semi Kilicsoy.
Build around, keep. Unless you get the big offer. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I would sell if the big offer comes. Because
if you get the big offer,
if the big offer comes, you can do so much with that money.
Yeah, then you could start buying.
But
all
then
these
you
central
need to
midfielders
use that
talking
money well as well. Like you can't.
Yeah, it actually puts a lot of pressure on this board.
Vincent Aboubakar.
Oh, it's like the tragedy of a lifetime. I guess you're selling. It's not going to work anymore.
Jackson Muleka.
Oh, I'm keeping him. Benching. He should be our... Right now, he should be our starting striker, and going forward, he should probably be our backup.
I would either loan him or sell him because
maybe a loan.
I think he's in the same boat as Onur, where I think the toxicity of the fans just doesn't allow... I mean, Onur, I just don't think... Like, Onur, I also isn't good enough. I think Muleka is in a... I think he's in a position where he could be an okay backup striker, but he needs to be more clinical for that, and he just isn't. And I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think he's a Beşiktaş player, so I think he needs to go regardless. So loan with the intention of the loan being him
with an option to sell.
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily put an option in there. I would just want him to get loaned out so that he can have a good season, so his market value goes up. Because he is only 24 years old. If he has one good season, you could maybe get like 5, 6, 7 million. Well, 7 is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but 5 million
I don't know,
maybe.
I don't know.
And we paid 3.2 for him, so making a small profit would be nice. I wouldn't want to make a loss on him. Cenk Tosun.
Sell. I would say re-sign if he was willing to take a legit pay cut and like recognize where he is in his career.
He already has really low weight. He already has a super low wage right now.
But you know what I mean. Like what he's asking for.
He
is
wants
way...
a lot more. He wants,
I mean, sorry, I should say, a cut from what he's asking for, rather, not from what he's being paid.
I think Cenk signed a goodwill deal because he was very confident in his ability when he signed.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he scored like 17 goals last season. and then he got injured. I think he signed with the full intent of I am going to prove myself, and after that I am going to get a raise. I am going to work for that. And I think because of the injury and how it has impacted him this season, he is still kind of the mindset of... I think he deliberately took a step back to take 2 steps forward, if that makes any sense. So I think he deliberately took like a $500K a year deal so that he could sign a $1.5 million deal after, because at the time I think he knew that was he thought that was his value, and it probably was last season if you look at his performance. But then I think he needs to be more realistic, and especially with the foreign limit change and all that kind of stuff. Like, just the way he's playing right now, he isn't worth the money he's asking for. I love Cenk to bits, one of my favorite players the last decade. Love him, respect him, but he needs to be realistic. He isn't worth that money right now, and he is also not starting material at the moment. If he takes the role as a backup and he's willing to re-sign for the current wage or close to that, so somewhere around 500-600K, I definitely want to keep him as the backup, but he needs to be the backup. He needs to be the backup.
Yeah. I mean, I'd almost even say, like, you almost want him as a third striker, because if your striker gets injured, do you really want, like, Cenk as, the guy you're relying on? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's tough. That's a tough one. But, like, you could theoretically, he could be like a second/third striker, left wing. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. Because he's such an important person in the club. I feel weird even, like, talking about him at this stage of his career. It's dispiriting a little.
Mustafa Hekimolo.
Loan.
Yeah. Yes, he's 16 years old. He will be 17 on April 22nd. Yeah, he's a talented player, young. A loan might do. I mean, if we can loan him to a second division team with guarantees of playtime, and we
really need to do that, like that Umrania thing we were trying to do. We need a club that we can like rely on to play these kids at a lower division.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's from our current squad. So you loaned out Ersin. You let Mert go. That means we need a new goalkeeper, right? Göktuğ you loaned. Utku you let go. So we've got Emre Bilgin coming back from loan. We've got Emir Yaşar in the youth. So then you're buying a new goalkeeper? A foreigner? Or
Yeah, I am.
Joe Worrell you were keeping. So that's one. Then,
so as far as a goalkeeper goes, by the way, this is how old is Ferdi?
Emir.
What am I?
Emir is
Fabri. Sorry, how old
Fabri
is
Fabri? Is 36, I think.
I would bring him back. I really would for a year, like for Emre Bilgin or whatever could like theoretically. You know what I'm saying? Like I would hope for someone who's like been getting better to maybe take that position, but like have Fabri or something like that. Some like older guy that you can kind of rely on short term just in case.
Yeah. I'm just having a quick count here. How many players you'd have left? So if you keep Semi and don't sell him, you're on 14. Yeah, you'd and Cenk, what were you doing with Cenk? Keeping him if he signs a new deal?
Keeping him at like 750K.
So you'd be left with a 15-man squad right now. So that's a lot of new players that need to be signed.
Yeah. And you know what I would do? So all right, let's talk about what I would do. So we talked about I'm bringing in a goalkeeper. That's 1. Yeah. I'm bringing in a winger. That's 2. I'm bringing in a striker. That's 3.
Yeah.
Rather than a starting central defender, I'm bringing in a good prospect of a central defender. So that's 4. What else do we need? I already said a winger and a striker, right?
A goalkeeper?
And a I said a goalkeeper, that's 4. What are we lacking at this point? Maybe a right back. I would try to find like a Turk right back to spell Svensson, 5. The central midfield is pretty covered based on how I have it, because I have 2 foreigners on the bench. I guess you need a third, so I would try to find...
In these 13 players that you'd be keeping 9 foreigners, by the way.
Yeah.
So you don't have much options in terms of bringing in
But we only need, like, as far as foreigners, and the guys I'm bringing in a foreign keeper, a foreign striker, and a foreign winger. And that's it. So, we're good.
Okay.
Perfectly, actually. It's 12.
I think realistically, to be comfortable, you'd need to let go at least one of Amir.
Probably.
And Ox, so you can bring at least in four foreigners.
And, like, I might even want to be bringing Montero back. So, I don't know. That's another question.
Right. One more thing I'd like to add is, where is Berkay Kinch-Timur? You were already talking about it before we started.
What happened?
Like, if I wanted to grab on that, like, what I do not understand why he is still not in the team. I would have expected him to get called up under Serdar Toprak Tepe. I was honestly a little bit surprised that he didn't call him up, because he has been his captain for the under 19s, won the league last season, captained the team to the league title. I've watched him play multiple times, and if there's anything that is remotely close to what Al Musrati is, it's Berkay. Like, Berkay is a deep-laying defensive playmaker, basically. He gets the ball, constantly passing out to the left or to the right, to the wings, but always like long balls, and really fucking accurate long balls. Like, his passing is really good. So I don't understand how that has still slipped under the radar of Santos. I mean, I'd expect him to be keeping close tabs on the under 19s, but I have serious doubts if he even is looking at them, because other than Simi and Emre Can, who has been part of the team since Serdar, he hasn't called up a single new kid. Like, Simi's been playing, but he was playing under his predecessor. Emre Can was playing under his predecessor, and he hasn't been playing until this last game. And then he hasn't played Demirega in like 7 games. So, like, Santos was talking about giving chances to the young players and blah blah blah blah blah, but he hasn't done shit. Other than keep on playing Simi, he hasn't done anything with youth.
Yeah, even Demirega has sort of gone by the wayside.
Completely. And again, you nor I are big Demirega fans, but like, there's just been moments already in recent games where
we kind of needed
how
him.
Does he have 0 minutes? It doesn't make any sense.
Getting a little weird. Yeah, and it's hard to defend. Like, you and I try to typically be the like sobering voice among fans, and I'm still not like, people are like Istifa, Santos. No, I still think he's probably got to see out the season, unless they have
he will see out the season for sure.
Yeah, and they pretty much announced it.
Unless we lose like 3 more games on a row and we lose the cup tie against Ankaragücü, I think then maybe
then you could see.
Then I wouldn't be surprised if they say, okay, you're out, and Serdar completes the season. I think that will happen if he keeps losing games,
or if they have. If their plan B is someone who's already out of a job, like a Genesio or a Terzic. And so they're like, okay, you know what? Like, we've got this already set up. You're gone. We're going to bring someone in to, like, basically see out the last few weeks and get to know who was there. Something like that. I think it's not very likely.
Unless they have, like, their perfect candidate that they can bring in, I don't think they will do it.
It would. I mean, that's why I said those 2 names, because those are the only 2 I could think of that would be of the caliber, really.
Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, right. I didn't even say that name.
I mean,
you and Aaron are in agreement.
I love Jose Mourinho to bits, but honestly, I think, the big issue with the media, with a lot of the fans, has been this guy is not an offensive football player. Like, Santos is not somebody who advocates offensive football. So if you go from Santos and then bring in Jose Mourinho, it's like, I mean, you're just bringing in a better version of this guy. right? Like you're just.
What is that song with the? I came in like a wrecking ball.
I mean, look, I would gladly sacrifice another season just so we could have Jose Mourinho in our history
Just to
because
see
I
the
love
wrecking
him
ball
so much.
come in and
But
smash to the
I
wall.
mean, yeah. I mean, look, if you give Jose Mourinho a good squad, and he will do special
Something.
one
He'll
thing.
do
He will do
something.
something. He will win. He will win shit. There's no ifs and buts about it. But I think after you have made the mistake of going with Santos, and let's be honest, it's been a mistake. I think that much is clear. After you went with that poor decision of going with a coach that does not fit the philosophy of the club. I'm not saying that Santos is a bad coach. I'm just like, he was never the right decision. Like,
Probably.
Beşiktaş is supposed to play offensive, attractive football, and he was not the right decision. That much is clear.
I'll say this much. In the name of like journalism, objectivity, I'll say this. I could be swayed yet. And by which I mean, and it would take a bit of a miracle at this point, but because I mean, how many matches do we have left? Like 8,
Something like that, yeah.
Let's do that count, because that's like a huge part of my thinking here. We have, let's see, Başakşehir here, Samsun, Ankara Gücü, Fenerbahçe, Rize, and Alanya, Hatay, and Kasımpaşa. Yeah, exactly 8 matches left, not including cup matches.
Not the worst games, by the way, other than Fenerbahçe. Like, those are
No,
all...
it's a pretty favorable schedule in a way. I mean, on the other hand,
Nothing
you have,
is favorable for
no,
us.
I was gonna
but,
say,
you know.
and like you have Hatay, who's like fighting for relegation. But then you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
only have one side that's even on that end of things. So I mean, I don't know. I guess we're all right, in theory.
Yeah.
But so look, if over those 8 matches, because that is like enough of a runway, and that's, I think that's a perfect description. If he gets the club moving in the right direction, we see that midfield trio consistently for a few weeks. Like, if you get that plane up off the ground, we win the cup. Let's say we go like, let's say we win 5 of these 8 matches. Like especially let's say like the last 5 matches, and we tie a couple.
If he tomorrow goes and he calls up Berkay, Kençtimur, not verder, he calls up Turgut Arda, and he gives those kids a chance. I mean, that's the thing. I'm kind of in the same mindset right now as I was with Riza. For me, Riza could have finished the season if he would have played kids.
Yeah.
And for me right now, if the results aren't going well, but at least you are giving opportunities to talented kids, and Berkay is certainly that, then I am willing to accept that, we're losing games, okay, whatever. But at least some players are getting valuable playing time, getting to train with the A team, and are developing toward next season. But he is not... Right now, Santos is not building anything up other than...
Okay, yeah, exactly. And that's what now I know how to reply. Exactly. And like for me, it doesn't necessarily have to be kids, like literal kids, like from the academy, but I need to see, take Cenk out and put in Jackson Muleka, who's 24, as you said. I want you to take out Carly, who's, like, as you said, nearly 32, and put in Zainuddinov. Like, there are intermediary steps even, right? There are enough guys in the roster who could have enough of an upside in the next few seasons where we could actually make money off of them in the near future. Let's see if they've got what it takes. If not to be Beşiktaş players, to make us some money. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are moves between playing kids and whatever the hell he's doing right now that would at least put some confidence in me that he's like thinking about the future. And like, I don't even think like, if he's not thinking about the future because he's playing these guys because he thinks they're going to get him the results now, I mean, I'm sorry, dude, but like, why would you think that? Like, you've already been proven, like, these guys are hurting your career at this point. Certainly your ability to stay with Beşiktaş. Like, what are you doing?
I don't have the impression.
Onur,
that...
like, what are you playing Onur? Like, I mean, at least he put in Svensson, and Svensson put in a great shift. So you'd say, okay, like, Svensson should be in there now, you'd imagine. But then on the other hand, Muleka gave him a brace against Kasim Pasha, and then we never saw him again until this last match. So I don't really know what this guy's doing.
The game after, but you know,
maybe so, yeah. But like, not much. Like, for garbage time.
I don't have the impression that he is even thinking long term, because I think if he was, then at least we would have seen. Like, I'm not even saying he has to give them their debuts, but then like there hasn't been a single youth player called up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
weird.
Nobody has been added to the squad. Like, other than the kids that had already been in the squad. You know, Arda had already been... Arda Kilic, Arda Kilic, right?
Arda Turgut, or whatever, right?
Yeah, he was already given his debut on the Burak. Didn't think he was particularly exciting, but, you know, he has been in the squad. Mustafa Hekimolo was also called up in that time. And then Emre Can, Semi, and Demirege. And other than those guys, nobody new has been starting to train with the team. Like, if he was truly thinking of the future and working towards next season, I would expect him to have involved some of the kids that are going to be in his plans in the summer in the A-team training already. But he hasn't called up anyone that I know of. Like, someone like Berkay, okay, if you're not going to give him his debut, which I think he should be getting already, at least let him train with the A-team and then give him his debut in the summer in the friendly games and the beginning of the season, whatever. But like, he's not doing those things either, which makes me wonder if he is even keeping proper tabs on the youth team. And I mean, obviously this is pure guesswork, but I don't have the impression that he is. I hope I'm wrong, of course, but like, I don't know. And
yeah, there was news of him like attending a youth match when he first arrived, but that has died down since.
I think
you're not hearing much about it.
I think if he was, then we would be hearing about it. And I think if his assistants were, we would be hearing about it.
You'd be seeing images, you know, someone trying to pump up that he's doing this extra.
Yeah, I mean, we broadcast our home games on YouTube, and so there's definitely cameras there, you know. Anyway,
I don't get it. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
I am ready for. I'm kind of done with him. I'm not done with this board or anything like that. Like, I think this board is making, you know, they made good moves in January, 2 really good signings. I still think, despite the fact that Musrati has been getting a lot of criticism from the Renkli media, I think they love, you know, but that doesn't bother me. I think it's clear to see, with anyone with a working pair of eyes, it's clear to see that both him and Mucci are quality players that we can build around next season. So I think I definitely want to stay the course with the board, but I really hope that the board make a correct decision in terms of who they're going to put in front of that group next season. And of course, they're going to have a ridiculous amount of work cut out for them for next summer, because so many players have to go. Like, we just did the exercise, and like, we just did the thought exercise, right? And you're like, literally the majority of the team is out.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think I would even criticize the board for hiring Fernando Santos, because sure, like, he came in with a certain profile, but the more I'm thinking about it, like, he was coming out of like a long tenure in the international scene, right? He had wanted to go back onto the club scene. He's had enough success on the international scene that you'd kind of hope that you're buying low on a guy who has a high, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe, but like,
it didn't work out. I agree with you as far as the prognosis.
I don't agree though, Sinan, because I think his profile is clear for anyone to see. Like, everyone knew the type of coach he was, the type of football he plays, and they should have known this is not the right fit. No disrespect to him. And I think actually, like, in his interviews and all that, he carries himself super well. I don't dislike him or anything. Like I said, I like the football we were playing yesterday, and I think if that's the type of football but I don't think we have the luxury to
wait around,
to take a gamble for next season. It needs to be clear that he's the right decision, and right now...
Yeah, no, I agree with you as far as next season. I guess I just mean, I thought it was okay to take a gamble, actually, like in that position, because just think about how we were in such a shit house back then, like we were doubting if anyone would want to come.
I think the type of gamble they should have taken is like a Bruno Genesio who has never won a title but plays good football. I think that's the type of gamble they could have taken.
Or like an Ilhan Palut, but that's a whole other
for sure. Ilhan Palut, if they decide to take him for next season tomorrow, I'd be happy. And that is also a sort of a gamble because it would be his first big gig.
Exactly.
But that's the type of gamble I'm okay with. But I think Fernando Santos is... It is almost destined to fail, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, he's like... There's...
See, my hope, and the reason I was sort of willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, is that it was even hard for me to really pinpoint. Like, even still, I think I would struggle to describe the football he's trying to play, which is obviously bad, like we've learned. But, like, going into it, right, because people are like, oh, he plays too defensive, but then you look at that Portugal side, and they had a lot of potency going forward. But so he was kind of doing what he had to with them a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, maybe there was pragmatism. I don't know. I guess all I'm saying is that, like, I'm okay with that mistake being made. Similar to the mistake they made with, like, Val. I'm okay with that one. Like, the reason I didn't like the Chenel thing was because it was like, we've already made that mistake, We've already kind of, like, put too many chips into that hat.
I mean, Chenel was 100% the correct decision in 2015.
Yes.
I think the problem with him was that we kept him beyond his third year. I think after the third year, we should have said goodbye, probably.
And then you could have maybe tried bringing him back later on and see how that goes. But because of how we did that third year, like, that felt like flogging a dead horse, if you will, right? But I don't mind these, like, let's see if we can get these people who play a certain profile to come to Turkey, and, like, being on a side that's more dominant in the league, you think that's got to sort of change their outlook, how they want to play the game a little bit, and maybe that sort of forced change of outlook will bear fruit, right? Like, I get that to some extent, but now we've done that a couple times. Didn't work out once, not even once. Like, I'm with you now. I think I think
this board should have learned, but this board should have learned from the mistake of the previous board, because we already went through this exact scenario with Val, where they brought in a coach that was that did not align with the DNA of the club.
Right.
And they did it again. Obviously, this is not the same board, but they should have learned from that. They should have learned from the mistake of appointing Val. And then you see that they were negotiating with Giovanni van Bronckhorst. They were negotiating with
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
No, Van Nistelrooy is a different. That is a correct profile.
That's a gamble too, though, in a way.
It is 100%. But at least that is somebody who wants to play attacking football. Giovanni van Bronckhorst has had a lot of success in recent years and has done great things, but again, not the profile that our fans want. And not the profile that the club... Like, there's been so much talk of the Beşiktaş DNA. Like, literally, we all know the story of why we got named the Black Eagles, that mythical story which is supposedly not very true, but... There's that story, and that story is all based around attacking football, and that is literally ingrained in the club culture, in the fan culture, that Beşiktaş has to play attacking football. So you can't bring in a defensive-minded coach unless it's Jose Mourinho or something like that. No, but then you can say, Okay, but it's
Because, like,
Jose.
the profile
It's
is
Mourinho.
true.
He has won everything. He has won at every single club, even the clubs where he was deemed a failure. He won cups. He was deemed.
Well, in defense of Fernando
except
Santos,
for
though,
Tottenham, I think maybe.
just this, like this is why I was okay with this mistake a little too. Like, remember, Fernando Santos, he hasn't won everything, but he's won some. He's won some shit. He's won some shit.
He has won one really big trophy in his career, and he's won a league title with Porto, and he's gotten a couple of cups. But Fernando Santos is not. He is nowhere near the caliber of Jose Mourinho.
Of course not. Of course
Right.
not. But,
Like,
but,
Jose
like,
Jose
but that
Mourinho-
caliber is probably out of our reach.
Yeah, no, of course. But that's what I'm saying. If you are going to go against the club DNA, it has to be for an exceptional individual. And Santos has had a great coaching career. He's a good coach, but he is not exceptional, and the exception should not have been made for him. And I think it was, in hindsight, quite clearly a panic appointment. And I do have question marks with the profile they were going after. If Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was super close, supposedly, and that was confirmed by very credible sources in the Netherlands, like, if that is the type of profile they were going for, I think they were going for the wrong thing. I think they were going for, okay, this guy won the league with Feyenoord, this guy played a European final with, was it with Rangers? So, like, he has...
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Van Bronckhorst?
Van Bronckhorst. So, he
Or
has
Barcelona, right? I mean, he played.
No, I mean as a coach.
Oh, okay.
So he has played.
Yeah.
You know, he got to the was it the Europa League or the Conference League final, and he won the league with Feyenoord and all that kind of stuff. So he won a cup with Feyenoord. So he has had trophies in his career. In his relatively young career, and he has a European final. So I think they were looking at what he has achieved, not the type of football he advocates. Although, don't get me wrong, I think Van Bronckhorst is an underrated coach still. I think he gets to a little bit more style, but I don't think he would have been the perfect fit. And I think that was a mistake to go after. Like, if you're like one side, you're going after supposedly Guinecio, who's known for a more attacking style, and then you're going after these defensive guys as well. Like, I don't know.
It's not a very unified vision.
In hindsight, I think they should have just gotten Sergen and given him a 6-month deal. But
Would he have taken that though? I thought he would.
I think he would have.
Yeah.
I think the problem was that they were name dropping him in the media. Like, Feas legitimately mentioned him on air, and Sergen said, "I haven't heard of anyone. Nobody has contacted me." So I think Sergen took the Antalya job just because he felt
it was there.
I think he felt a little bit disrespected, honestly. And I
mean, it's a pretty good post too. It's
yeah, for sure.
It's an ascendant.
I think he should probably have taken a job earlier.
Yeah.
that you know, the criticism on him of
if he was with Antalya all season, I bet Antalya would be in 3rd or 4th place right now. Actually,
I mean, they were doing good under Nouri, so, you know, I don't think they
sorry,
actually,
that's. I
I
guess that's what I meant. If he had like come in right when Nouri left, right? Because I think that period where they fell off the rails was when they were probably between coaches or whatever it was, right?
I don't remember if they were without a coach for a long time. Don't think it was particularly long.
Oh wow, Sergen was already there in February. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, Sergen was there for their.
They have went through a spell of draws, and then a couple of like, they lost against Fenerbahce, for example, but they played really well. And then I think they recently lost against Galatasaray as well, but again played.
So yeah, their dip, like right before the new year, was when they had, who was their coach? Someone I don't even, like Serkan Damla or something.
That must have been Nouri's temporarily played.
Exactly.
The caretaker, basically. Yeah.
But but then they took a little dip. But it looks like Sergen's got them playing now. I mean,
but I mean, the guys in our chat were complimenting the type of football they were playing yesterday. I think everyone was saying, like, they were just like passing one-time passes, back heels.
Yeah,
it was
in the
crazy.
very beginning of the game,
Yeah,
it was
and
stark.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago when they played Fenerbahce, I was really impressed, and they were really, really good, and they were hard done to lose that game. I thought
They got a screw job on that one.
I don't remember. I don't think it was a screw job, but I think it was just an efficiency issue where Fenerbahce was just really efficient with what they got, and Antalya weren't. Basically, I don't
feel
remember.
like there
It's been
was
a while, but
wait, maybe that was last week. Fener, someone got screwed against Fener.
Kasim Pasha.
Yeah.
I mean, screwed. I mean, that was that last second penalty that was 2 weeks ago, I guess. But whatever. Anyway, so yeah.
Speaking of which,
man.
by the way, Trabzon and Fener have just started
yeah.
in real time.
Yeah. So I mean, guys, listeners, I would really love to hear your lists if you're interested at sending them to us. Just tweet them at us. Send us your list of marry, fucking kill. Who are you
Or what
keeping?
what are our options? So it's like,
okay, so options will be
keep and start, keep and bench.
start, bench, loan or sell.
Yeah, start,
So you've
bench,
got
loan, or sell.
four options: start, bench, loan, sell. So you got 4 options. So go have a look at the squad and send us. Just tweet at Beşiktaş podcast and let us know. Or you can just tweet at the podcast. It's easier, I think. And then let us know. But Sinan, anything left on your mind about these tremendous games we have? They were just tremendous, huge games. What did you-
Huge. They were huge. Boy, do I have anything to say about these games?
He has ruined the word tremendous for me.
Seriously.
I use that word a lot, and I feel super self-conscious about using it now because I feel like I sound like Trump.
That's terrible. He's stolen our language. No. Do I have thoughts about okay? First of all, I'm glad that we're off until April, which is it was just crazy. I can't believe we have 2 weeks off for the international team.
It's good that Musrati will have time to recover, right? So he will hopefully be 100% for the cup games.
Yeah, that's true. It's well timed for us as far as getting healthy.
And maybe
for
Ox
me,
will be back in training as well.
Oh, that is supposed to happen towards the end of the season. By the way, it sounds like you've turned into a robot here temporarily.
Oh, yeah, you kind of cracked
You're
up
good now.
a little bit
You're
as well.
good now, too.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Maybe because I turned on the Roku for the Fener game, so the internet
that must have been it.
internet problem while it was loading. No, I am kind of like. I'm glad we get a little break. I have work to do. I have a lot of work to do in these couple of weeks.
How's your book coming along? The editing?
But yeah, I have to do like a rewrite, so it's intense times ahead. Good time for a little break.
Okay.
Also, I'm happy that we have, like we said, 8 matches left, but it's like there's not much that we're playing for, so we can really kind of see.
I mean, we are starting to enter territory of if we don't win. Yeah. I mean, if we keep losing, we're gonna drop out of the top 4. Something we all thought was done and dusted just 2 weeks ago.
In that sense, it's great that the refs just saved Galatasaray and Kasim Pasha lost, because they would have actually caught us on points if they had won. It's weird saying that. Sorry, let's just strike that from the record. I hope nobody ever records that and flaunts it. But no, I mean, we have 8 weeks where there's a bit of pressure for us to not choke, if you will.
Yeah, we need to stop the implosion.
Yeah, but we do have, I think, a good chance to see a lot of players we want to see establish themselves with us. Hopefully we get to see some decent football. If not, then we're gonna have a new coach, which is it's like win-win in a sense, right? Either the coach wins us over and we play great football, or we kind of get what we want. The coach is out, and hopefully we don't lose too much ground, right? I think we're likely to be in Europe, because even if we don't get 4th place, that means that, and we don't win the cup, it means that Trabzon probably wins the cup, so 5th place will be good enough, right? So, I mean, it's all water under the bridge. No, we need to do well enough. We need to do well enough. You're right. But I don't know. It's like we're clearly not playing for the title.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last week we were officially mathematically out of the title race.
Can you imagine? Like, this is one thing. Like Ilke, who's typically pretty negative, made a great point. Imagine we were in the title race.
Oh yeah,
and they screwed us on the
happens.
Rashica penalty. Can you imagine? Like, it would have been a disaster.
I mean, the worst thing is that you can't even call. I mean, it's by the book. It's the correct decision, right? Like,
it's like chaos, though, is what it is. It's Murphy's Law. The best description.
Yep.
But I do have to say, this is important. First of all, we'll see you folks around. Obviously, our next match upcoming is against Beşiktaş here on April 3rd. You know, we have half a month to stew over our terrible results of late, which is just great. And the national team is playing like friendlies. Like, it's not even...
And who got called up,
nothing to
Sinan?
see here.
Who got called up?
Sami Kilitsoy and Mert Günok, which is, you know,
Ooh.
debatable, but whatever. But no, look. What's important, and I can't stress this enough. Let's go Beşiktaş! I got you. Bet nobody saw that coming. Peace out, everyone.
They definitely didn't.
Fernando just scored, by the way, so that's happening.
Okay, good for them. I mean, you know,
and good for us, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's good for us. It definitely is. Yeah, and yeah, I'm not gonna go on record saying anything regarding this. You know my feelings, Sinan. You know my feelings. Anyway,
we're on the other side of this. We're on the side of.
we are opponents on that front of who we want to win the title.
That's right. For me personally, I love that as bad as things get for us, it's always worse for Fener because they haven't won. But of course, I hate Galatasaray, and they're the worst of all time as well. So you know, it's not like I could be swayed. You know what I'm saying?
It's like having to decide between getting your left foot shot off or your right foot shot off.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Like on the one hand, I could get muscles in my off leg. That would be good. Yeah, I don't know. Well, peace out, everyone. Let's hope for good times ahead.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Goodbye, Liverpool.